I was 68, and my own family called me useless. They said I was just an old woman waiting for time to pass. But one stormy night, everything changed. The same family, who had ignored me for years, found themselves looking at me as their only hope. They never expected that the woman they had given up on would be the one who saved them all. This is my story. The woman they stopped seeing, I woke up early, every morning before the sun. Even rose, I made breakfast for everyone, packed lunches, folded laundry, watered the garden, and quietly cleaned every room. No one ever asked if I was tired. No one ever said thank you. To them, I had become invisible. One morning, my son walked into the kitchen without even looking at me. He said, "Mom, don't forget to pick up my dry cleaning." Before I could answer this, he was already gone. A few minutes later, my daughter-in-law walked in. She looked around. The day everything changed, one Friday evening, the sky turned dark. Heavy rain covered the streets. The wind shook every tree. Outside my little house, I was sitting in my favorite chair, knitting a tiny blue sweater for my youngest grandson. Even though his parents rarely visited, I still believed. The choice no one expected. The hospital was filled with fear. Doctors moved quickly from one room to another. Machines kept beeping without stopping. I found my son sitting alone. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. The moment he saw me, he broke down. For the first time in many years, he hugged me. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never thought I'd need you again." I didn't answer. I simply held his hand, because a mother's love doesn't wait for an apology. It simply shows up. A doctor walked toward us. "We need a family decision immediately." My son looked at me. His eyes were full of fear. "I don't know what to do," he said. Everyone turned toward me, the same family who once called me useless. Now they were waiting for my words. I closed my eyes for a moment. Then I remembered every hurt, every tear, every lonely birthday, every dinner I ate alone, every time they ignored me. I had every reason to walk away. But then I looked at my grandchildren. They were crying. They had done nothing wrong. I took a deep breath, then quietly said, "We stay together. We fight as a family, no matter what happened before." The room fell silent. Even the doctor stopped speaking. For a moment, my son couldn't hold back his tears. He whispered, "I don't deserve a mother like you." I gently smiled. "This isn't about what you deserve. It's about who I choose to be." That night, for the first time in years, my family didn't see an old woman. They saw the heart that had been holding them together all along. But the greatest miracle hadn't happened yet. The day they finally saw my worth, the next morning, the storm had finally passed. Sunlight filled the hospital room for the first time in days. Everyone was smiling. The doctor walked in, holding a clipboard. He looked at my son, then at me. "I'm happy to say she's going to recover." The room filled with relief. My son covered his face and cried. Not quietly, not for a moment. He cried like the little boy I once held in my arms. He walked toward me. Then Without saying a word, he knelt down, right there, in the middle of the hospital room. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I was ashamed of having an old mother. I thought you had nothing left to give. But yesterday, you saved our family. I'll never forgive myself." I gently lifted his chin. "My son, life is too short to live with regret. If you truly want to thank me, love your family, respect the people who loved you before you became successful." Tears filled his eyes. "I promise I will." A few minutes later, my daughter-in-law walked toward me. She couldn't even look me in the eyes. "I judged you without knowing your heart. Can you ever forgive me?" I smiled, the same smile I had given my children their entire lives. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it gives the future a chance. She wrapped her arms around me for the first time. It wasn't out of duty. It was out of love. A week later, my family returned home. Something had changed. Every morning, we ate breakfast together. Every evening, we shared one table, one conversation, one family. No one called me useless ever again. My grandson walked up to me, holding a small wooden frame. Inside was a family photo taken before we left the hospital. Across the bottom, he had written, "Our hero." I couldn't hold back my tears, not because I had saved them, but because after so many years, they finally saw me, not as an old woman, not as a burden, but as the heart of the family. If this story touched your heart, remember this: never underestimate the quiet strength of someone who has loved you their entire life. Because sometimes the person the world calls useless becomes the one. Later, life looked very different. The house that once felt cold and silent was filled with laughter again. Every Sunday, my family gathered around the same dining table. No phones, no arguments, just smiles, just love. One morning, my son walked into the kitchen. He was holding a small box. He placed it in front of me. "Mom, open it." Inside was a beautiful silver key. I looked at him, confused. "What is this?" He smiled. "We bought a small cottage. It's yours. No mortgage, no conditions. No one can ever take it away." Tears filled my eyes. "I already have a home," I said softly. He shook his head. "No, you gave your entire life building homes for everyone else. It's finally time someone built one for you." My grandchildren ran toward me. "Grandma, we helped pick the garden. There are red roses, just like you love." I couldn't speak. My heart was too full. A few days later, the whole family visited the cottage. It was small, peaceful, surrounded by flowers. Birds sang every morning. Sunlight filled every room near the front door. My son hung a wooden sign. It read, "Margaret's Home." Underneath, in smaller letters, were the words, "Built with love." I stood there, looking at the sign, then at my family. For years, I thought growing older meant becoming less important, but I was wrong. Age doesn't reduce your value. It reveals your strength. Before we left, my youngest grandson slipped his tiny hand into mine. He looked up and smiled. "Grandma, when I grow up, I want to be kind, just like you." Those words meant more than any gift, money, or house ever could. Because in that moment, I realized the greatest legacy isn't wealth, it isn't success, it's the love and kindness you leave behind. If you're watching this, please remember, one day, your parent and grandparents will grow older. Don't wait until it's too late to tell them how much they mean to you, because sometimes the person the world calls useless is quietly holding the entire family together. A message from my heart. If you've stayed with me until the end, thank you not just for watching, but for believing that kindness still matters. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to call your mother, your father, or your grandparents. Tell them you love them, because tomorrow is never promised. Sometimes the smallest words become the biggest memories. And if you still have someone who loves you unconditionally, you are richer than you realize. As for me, at 68, I thought my life was over, but I learned one beautiful truth. Growing older doesn't make you less valuable. It makes your love even more precious, no matter how broken your family may feel. Love can still bring everyone home. Thank you for spending your time with me. And if you enjoy heartwarming stories about family, hope, forgiveness, and second chances, please subscribe and join our growing family. There are many more emotional stories waiting for you. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and never stop choosing kindness. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more emotional family stories.